Dollar is powerful, but I can provide the challenge you seek. Yu Qilin looked at Huang Xiao and laughed. He said, okay, then I'll beat you first. After that, I will go against Dollar. But you better find him for me. You better win against me first, Huang Xiao said, bravely. Yu Qilin said nothing in response to this. He merely walked across the plaza with a happy look on his face, and the receptionist confirmed the fight. Huang Xiao had already achieved the status of a surpasser. Although he had only just reached the third god's sanctuary, his fitness was over 300, and he was a powerful person, one who should have no trouble beating the young Shira royal. The fact that Yu Qilin had not selected Jai Yanran made many people breathe a sigh of relief. Although Han Sen was not a bad fighter, many people still believed he relied completely on his super pet. They wouldn't feel confident about him fighting against Yu Qilin mano a mano. Jai Yanran was also relieved. She was not afraid of him losing, but she just didn't want him to shoulder the risk and burden of such a prestigious fight. Huang Xiao and Yu Qilin both entered the established battleground at the center of the plaza. An old royal Shura and a demigod stood at each end of the court. If something cruel seemed set to occur, they would step in and put an end to the battle. You strike first. If I strike first, I'm afraid this will be over before it begins. Yu Qilin looked at his opponent coldly. Okay then. Huang Xiao looked a little angry at how condescending and rude his foe was being. Although the feast and accompanying battle was not open to the media, many high-class members of the alliance had ways of watching the entire event. Normally, people wouldn't watch a fight such as this, but the people in this fight were special, so everyone of importance was sure to keep an eye on the coming duel. For a long time, the fitness of humans had been nowhere near the heights of the Shura, but humans strive to be better. Generations after their first meeting, the gap in talent between the two species was still unbridged. But then came the discovery of the sanctuaries, and after this, humanity accelerated in strength as if they were cheating. Han Sen waited for the match to begin. He wanted Huang Xiao to win as well. It was about asserting glory for his entire race, so he did not particularly care for who the fighter was, he who would take the mantle and responsibility of such a prestigious fight, as long as they won. Shall we establish a wager? Suddenly, a man's voice was heard. Han Sen and Jai Yanran turned around with much surprise to the sight of Tang Zhenliu and Lin Feng. It was Tang Zhenliu who spoke. And what shall we wager? Han Sen asked, smiling. Let us make a bet on who will win this battle, Tang Zhenliu said. I bet Huang Xiao wins. This isn't a bet, it's a scam, Han Sen said with a wry smile. Tang Zhenliu laughed, then changed the subject. Han Sen, there is something I would like to discuss with you. I was wondering if you might sell me a life geno essence. And if you can't, lend me your super pet so that I might kill a super creature for myself. Let's watch the match first. We can talk more about this later. When Han Sen turned back to look at the stage, the fight had already started. When Huang Xiao swung, Han Sen was surprised. He had only just become a surpasser, but still, there was fierce weight and strength driving the fist. Huang Xiao's body glowed with gold like a Buddha in the gleaming light that radiated from his raging fist. The Huang family's golden Buddha may not be very well known, but it cannot be any worse than Platinum Body. It increases your body's vitality as well as its simple power. He seems calm and composed using it. Perhaps it isn't surprising. When he first became a surpasser, no one could beat him while he used it, Tang Zhenliu explained. Peng! Huang Xiao's fist hit Yu Qilin. The royal Shura did not dodge, but accepted the hit instead. Everyone looked at them with wide eyes, keen to learn the result of the hit. Yu Qilin somehow evened out the attack, and no damage was delivered to either combatant. In quick retaliation, they both swung their fists. No one expected the fight to be so tense, so shortly after beginning, Yu Qilin and Huang Xiao stood on the spot, their fists flying towards each other in a flurry. The sounds of whipped wind and clubbed bones emanated harshly between the fighters. This is bad. It looks like our intel may have been incorrect. It would seem Yu Qilin's fitness is far higher than what we originally believed it to be. He can compete against Huang Xiao without being at a disadvantage. His fitness must be over 300 for sure. There is no way he can be suppressed or dominated as we initially expected him to be. Tang Zhenliu frowned. Han Sen frowned, too. The vitality of a royal Shura was naturally very high. Huang Xiao could only keep up because of his usage of Golden Buddha. Not even ordinary celestial beings were naturally that strong. It seemed as if Yu Qilin hadn't learned any skills to strengthen his body, which was fortunate. But it was frightening to think his body's vitality was on par with Huang Xiao's, despite being all natural. Fists collided against each other in a hailstorm of strikes. Huang Xiao's fist gleamed like a golden hammer. The Shura battled without the flare, elemental, or even magical properties of skills humans employed through their use of hyper-geno arts. The Shura only practiced raw power, and Yu Qilin used the strength derived from his flesh, muscle, and bone to oppose Huang Zhao's golden lights. For him to break each strike as he was doing, it was a testament to how frighteningly powerful he truly was. Can Huang Zhao win this fight? Jai Yanran asked with much worry. Ordinarily, Golden Buddha's defense and durability boons provide its users near unparalleled protection. If this continues, he may very well win. But Tang Zhenliu was about to say something, but then stopped mid-sentence. His brow furrowed. I am afraid Huang Zhao may be at a disadvantage. Yu Qilin looked at Huang Zhao and said, your fitness is impressive, perhaps the best young humans can provide. But I must regretfully confess to you that you are inferior to us. Huang Zhao coldly replied, I don't think so. Really? Then I'll show you what the Shira are capable of. Yu Qilin's eyes flashed with a purple light. His body suddenly expanded and his muscles doubled in size. The fine and reserved body that once fought against Huang Zhao had been replaced with a hulking beast. The potential power looked frighteningly high, as if he could walk about sundering any stone he pleased. Shura change. Huang Zhao's face went dim. Shura change. Everyone else's faces changed at the same time, as well as they exclaimed the same two words in unison. The visiting Shura looked cocky, satisfied with the reaction they had incited from the human crowd. They were proud of what Yu Qilin had accomplished. What is Shura change? Han Sen frowned, having never heard of this before. But seeing Yu Qilin transform, it sent his mind back to zero. There were certain similarities he could not shake. Tang Zhenliu now looked worried, and he explained, Shura change is their form of hyper-geno art. It is different than what humans do, however. They don't train and practice with the flow of energy. Again, they exercise the raw nature of their bodies. When they use Shura change, their powers greatly increase. I had believed him to have already used it. I didn't expect him to have been fighting naked previously. Now, I must regretfully confess, Huang Zhao is doomed. As they spoke, Yu Qilin stepped forward. He was much faster now, powered by his incredible muscles. He dashed towards Huang Zhao and threw his fist into his chest. Pang! Huang Zhao used his arm to block the hit, but his body was knocked back 4 meters as his feet left a deep cleft in the marble plaza they fought upon. Do you believe me to be stronger than you now? Yu Qilin did not deliver a follow-up hit, he just spoke in a disdainful manner. Huang Zhao's face contorted for a second, before regaining composure. Coldly he said, strength is not everything, and I am not yet beaten. As he talked, the gold light that illuminated Huang Zhao's body faded away, and his muscles relaxed. He looked directly into the eyes of his foe. Yu Qilin smiled and shot another fist in Huang Zhao's direction. This time, he did not want to collide with the punch. Huang Zhao dodged out of its way and quickly tried to deliver a punch of his own into Yu Qilin's belly. Yu Qilin threw another fist in an attempt to hurt his human nemesis, but Huang Zhao dodged once more. Like a willow tree in a hurricane, he weaved around to attack from a different angle. Huang Zhao is good. It is no wonder why he was selected to be our champion. As tough as he can be just as soft. He is smart as well. Tang Zhenliu had nothing but praise to offer Huang Zhao. Han Sen believed Huang Zhao to be a good fighter, too. A special balance had been wrought inside him, one between his mind and his power. He could time things very well. His judgment and timing could not be any better. Riding on the whims of changing circumstance, he knew when to strike, how to dodge, and which way to move. Although he was losing, his mind still showed confidence and his resolve was not tarnished by thoughts of defeat. Huang Zhao, you're doing great. In the plaza, Tang Zhenliu made sure to make his support heard. But Lin Feng said, Huang Zhao is losing, though. How? Tang Zhenliu asked with much surprise, not able to believe the words spoken to him. Han Sen frowned, as he could tell Huang Zhao was in trouble as well. At the same time, Yu Qilin took a step back. Then, he spoke to Huang Zhao once more. Are you going to keep on dodging like this? This is a strategy. It is one that takes skill, Huang Zhao calmly responded. Yu Qilin coldly said, well, I just want you to know that these cheapo skills are useless before my power. You are a loser, bringing comfort to yourself and nothing more. After he spoke, Yu Qilin's eyes shone purple again, and blood vessels across his body began to pulsate and stick out. The purple veins decorated each muscle, and it was a scary sight to behold. He didn't look handsome anymore, he looked like a real Shura. Yu Qilin's body shattered the atmosphere. It was as if he teleported directly in front of Huang Zhao, with his big hand reaching out for the young man's head. Unfortunately, it was too late for Huang Zhao to dodge. It was difficult to comprehend what Yu Qilin had just done all of a sudden. Whatever it was, his speed had increased exponentially. There was nothing Huang Xiao could do. He gritted his teeth as a golden light enveloped his body. His fist gleamed like molten gold as he cast it forward. He was not aiming to deflect Yu Qilan's fist, however, he was aiming for his chest. With his life on the line, he was ready to risk it all for the sake of landing one devastating blow. This Huang Xiao is good. Han Sen and the rest of the crowd were very supportive of his efforts. Huang Xiao's speed and power were lacking against Yu Qilan, but he was adaptive. If he maintained his defensive posture, he'd be delaying an inevitable loss and would never find a chance to strike back. Huang Xiao knew this all too well, and that was why he decided not to deflect whatever Yu Qilan was about to do. He knew his strength and speed weren't a match for his opponent, so he was willing to risk it all for any attack he could make. Everyone watched the two fists with their eyes open wide. That single moment seemed to take a lifetime for the people who watched it unfold, hovering at the edge of their seats. This was especially true for the four people who most worried over Huang Xiao's well-being. The demigod human and royal Shura would step in if their people were in danger. But right now, no one knew who was going to emerge victorious. Although the combatants were reaching a critical stage in their fight, all they could do was watch. And furthermore, whichever aide stepped in to help would lead to their fighter's forfeiture. Huang Xiao shouted. He fell to the ground with his face drenched in blood, looking grievously wounded. Yu Qilan was hit, but he was still standing tall. He looked at his opponent on the ground with disdain. The demigod stepped forward and called for the immediate aid of a doctor. Everyone's eyes were glued to the stage, and their minds held out hope that Huang Xiao would be okay. Winning was important, but it wasn't worth a young man's life. They all wished him to be fine. "Oh, sorry. I believe I may have hit you a little too hard there." Yu Qilan's words may have sounded apologetic on paper, but his arrogant face betrayed their meaning. "You have great skill. We lost," the demigod said as he coldly looked upon the Shura. Lin Feng, who was standing next to Han Sen, looked murderous and said that Yu Qilan must die for this. "If I ever meet him again, I will kill him." "Why is that?" Han Sen looked at Lin Feng. He knew him quite well, and thought what he had said was rather out of character. What had happened had occurred in an established match, after all. This asshole should totally die. Tang Zhenliu was fuming with rage, as well, and the twisted flame of a desire for slaughter was alight in his eyes. "Why?" Han Sen frowned. "Let's check on Huang Xiao first, we'll tell you on the way." Lin Feng spoke as they went towards the medical room Huang Xiao was taken to. Tang Zhenliu was furious, angrily grumbling as he walked. "That asshole is cheating." "What do you mean?" Han Sen frowned. He had no idea what he meant. He watched the match just as they did, and Yu Qilan did not break the rules. There were no weapons employed, either. If he was cheating, Han Sen hadn't been able to catch him. "Old Han, you have never been to war. You know little about the Shura. They have what is called blood injection. They can inject themselves with the blood of a higher class Shura to temporarily earn their strength. Me and Old Lin have seen this occur many times." Yu Qilan most certainly used blood injection, Tang Zhenliu explained. When the four of them reached the medical bay, the doctors had Huang Xiao in surgery. Many of Huang Xiao's friends nervously awaited him outside. Lin Feng saw a doctor he knew and pulled him aside to ask, "Dr. Chan, how is Huang Xiao?" Dr. Chan had a wry smile and said, "If he was injured anywhere else, we could have done an organ transplant. But he received significant blunt force trauma to the head, resulting in severe damage to the brain. He is still in critical condition, but our neurosurgeons are doing all that they can to stabilize him." After a pause, Dr. Chan quietly informed Lin Feng the punch was far too hard. His skull was split, and it was unable to absorb the entire force delivered. This resulted in his brain sustaining severe damage. Even if he survives, the nerve damage, the extent of which we will have to determine later, will affect him for the rest of his life. "How bad is it?" Tang Zhenliu asked. "Paralysis is a very serious consequence of such injuries. If the hit was a touch milder, he might only suffer partial mobility disabilities, or only be affected during certain times or under certain conditions. For example, every now and then he might lose control in his hands. But with the way things are looking right now, there is a high chance of the patient suffering intellectual disabilities," Dr. Chan said. When they heard this, each of their faces went dim. This was worse than death for Huang Xiao. Even if his injuries extended no further, he would have lost the ability to fight. It would be impossible for him to adventure through the sanctuaries again. The four of them returned to the plaza in a glum mood. Although they did not really know Huang Xiao, they felt awful upon learning what had happened to him. "Please, fulfill your obligation and bring me $. He is your strongest young one, after all." Han Sen, upon his return, heard Yu Qilan speaking to the receptionist. "FCK, if I was a surpasser, I'd kick his ass so hard." Tang Zhenliu said, angrily. He wished he was a surpasser, for in his present state, he could hardly lay a finger on Yu Qilan. With Shura change and blood injection, Yu Qilan was already able to beat a surpasser that was a celestial being. The hidden power he possessed was something not even Huang Xiao had the ability to overcome. Lin Feng was calm and did not say anything more. The people who knew him well, however, could tell he was suppressing a great fire of anger inside. Han Sen suddenly stood up and walked towards the stage. He was fuming mad, and although he did not know Huang Xiao, he despised Yu Qilan enough to know what he had to do. Furthermore, he had repeatedly asked for a fight against Dollar. Han Sen laughed in his heart and thought to himself, you want to fight Dollar, do you? As you wish. Prepare to get spent. Han Sen, what are you doing? Seeing Han Sen approach the stage, Jai Yanran became incredibly worried. Old Han, do not be reckless. We can kill him together once we become surpassers. Tang Zhenliu called out. It's only a royal Shura. There's no need for me to wait that long, Han Sen said in response, as his fingers glided across Jai Yanran's face. He then told her, sit right there and wait for me to kill this asshole. After that, Han Sen continued his approach to the stage. Tang Zhenliu still wanted to prevent him from doing this, and Jai Yanran's worry was not alleviated. If he wants to go that much, he must be confident, Lin Feng calmly said, stopping the two from any further attempts to change Han Sen's mind. As Han Sen neared the stage, Yu Qilan was still requesting that someone find Dollar so that they might fight. Yu Qilan, right. Do you have to fight Dollar to feel good about yourself? Han Sen said, as he ascended the stage and looked directly at his soon-to-be enemy. Okay, then. You can fight him. But first, you must beat me, Han Sen calmly said. You? And who are you exactly, chump? I tire of you humans attempting to stall my true desire. How long do you expect me to fight scrawny worthless beings before I can go up against Dollar? Yu Qilan looked at Han Sen with disdain. I lost to Dollar once. Dollar took me out in 1.5 punches. If you beat me, I can call upon Dollar to come over here and whip you like a dog. How does that sound? Han Sen looked at Yu Qilan. 1.5 punches, huh? Is this guy for real? Yu Qilan ignored Han Sen and spoke to the receptionist directly. Of course, he is my fiancé. He only ever speaks the truth. Jai Yanran stood up and said, President Jai's daughter. Fine, I'll believe you once more. Yu Qilan looked at Jai Yanran and then returned his gaze to Han Sen. He continued by saying, if I win, and I am still unable to see Dollar, then tonight's fighting is over. I have no interest in fighting noobs any longer. Han Sen then coldly said, humanity is graced with a desire to uphold their word. Furthermore, we are polite. You allowed Huang Xiao to strike first in the last match, so allow me to return the gesture. Yu Qilan, I want you to make the first attack. Yu Qilan did not waste any time and immediately swung his fist. As he swung, he used Shura change and the wretched power-boosting method of blood injection. He planned to one-hit kill Han Sen. Han Sen had started this match, so he couldn't allow himself to immediately get punched and defeated. If the demigod stepped in now, it would be humiliating not only for him, but for humanity as a whole. Such a tale would be laughed about by the Shura for many more generations. Jai Yanwu and Jai Ruozhen were watching the scene as well, and they looked nervous. Although they had faith in the falsified Sky Sutra, they knew Yu Qilan had blood injection, and they believed the Shura was devastatingly more powerful. The Ning family, the Qin family, the Wang family, the Donglin and Zhao families were all watching the same match. They wanted to see what path Han Sen had decided to follow. Jai Yanran and her friends were extremely anxious. They knew Han Sen was strong, but they were still worried. The power Yu Qilan possessed exceeded the possible power of an evolver by a great extent. As everyone watched with bated breath, Han Sen did not choose to dodge the punch. Instead, he swung a fist of his own. Han Sen aimed for Yu Qilan's head, electing to risk his life to deliver damage just as Huang Xiao had. Why Sonic Thunder Punch? Jai Yanwu screamed. Liu Hating was the one who was shocked the most, however. Seeing Han Sen not make use of the falsified Sky Sutra, he suddenly stood up, stared at the video, and shouted aloud, why didn't he use the falsified Sky Sutra? Many people expected Han Sen to use it, but were surprised when he did not. At that moment, all their faces turned grim. They believed Han Sen had placed himself in a wretched position. No matter how powerful Sonic Thunder Punch was, it was only a hyper-geno art. There was no way it could fathomably be what was needed to go against Yu Qilan. Just as they were about to punch each other, Yu Qilan froze. It was a sudden and short, momentary freeze. In the space of a second, Han Sen's fist sped up and crashed against Yu Qilan's head. Han Sen's eyes flashed blue as thunder flickered across his body. The fist was driven deep into Yu Qilan's forehead. Stop. Upon seeing this, the royal Shura's face completely changed. He wanted to stop Han Sen from delivering his punch, but it was too late. Boom. Han Sen's fist smashed into his opponent's skull. There wasn't much noise, but Yu Qilin's eye sockets began to cascade with blood. The eyes themselves looked ready to eject themselves from the sockets. As blood covered his features, a silver lightning burst forth from his face. Yu Qilin's brain was suddenly turned to mud by the horrible power of the sonic thunder mix. His entire body was electrocuted, and as he convulsed, his body continued standing there like a doll. Yu Qilin was strong, but he was not too far off a human. There were parts of his body that were weaker, and just like a human, one was his brain. The royal Shura shouted in his inability to stop Han Sen, so he swung his fist and attempted to attack Han Sen from behind. What was coming towards Han Sen now was as powerful a punch as any demigod could deliver. The fact that it was coming from behind as a sucker punch shocked all who watched. They did not expect a royal Shura to commit to such a cheap move, and it was also too late to tell Han Sen to watch out. Not a single person expected the royal Shura to behave in such an obscene fashion. Han Sen's back was facing the royal Shura, but it looked as if his back grew a pair of eyes. He stepped forward and grabbed Yu Qilin, who was as responsive as a child's doll. He swung around the lifeless body and presented Yu Qilin as a meat shield to block the royal Shura's hit. The royal Shura almost punched Yu Qilin, struggling to force the wretched power he was about to deliver back inside him. But when that power was pushed back inside, it caused him to cough up blood. All the humans were shocked. They could not believe Han Sen not only punched Yu Qilin and put him in such a state, but was smart enough to evade and force a royal Shura to withdraw his attack. It was like a miracle. Shura, huh? Is that it? Han Sen threw Yu Qilin, who was still in a vegetative state, away like a piece of trash. He let him twitch and convulse on the ground as he spoke to the royal Shura with disdain. I am going to kill you. The royal Shura was embarrassed, and his rage was inflamed. He looked as if he was preparing to attack Han Sen again. Please, try to preserve whatever remains of your dignity. The demigod now stood in front of Han Sen with the presence of a mountain. With a look as cold as ice, he spoke to the royal Shura. How dare you kill our royal representative? We Shura will not allow such a slight to slide. This was the Human Alliance, a stronghold where countless humans lived. The royal Shura's anger had overwhelmed him, and in a place such as this, where he was unable to let loose his violence, all he could do was shout in spite. Please, do not forget it was you who requested peace with us. We did not present you with the idea for a truce. If you choose not to abide to the terms of the treaty we established in our discussions, it is no skin off our nose. The demigod spoke aloud, his response fierce. All the other Shura looked on, unable to say a word. Han Sen, follow me in our return. Let us continue the feast. Yep, let's celebrate. No one can leave without getting drunk. Tang Zhenliu shouted out as he tugged Lin Feng to follow in the same direction. All the young humans left towards the lobby with great joy, while the Shura grumbled angrily amongst themselves. Not bad. This kid is even more amazing than Luo Heitang. He didn't learn the falsified Sky Sutra, and actually used Sonic Thunder Punch to kill Yu Qilin. Haha, this truly is impressive. It is amazing. I would love to see the look on Luo Heitang's face right now. A member of the Luo family has turned away from learning their falsified Sky Sutra. Ha 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 ha. The old man was laughing so hard, tears began to roll. The middle-aged man, by comparison, was frozen. He had followed this man for 40 years and had never once seen him laugh in such a manner. This kid is really good, little Zhang. I would like to meet him. Can you sort that out for me? The old man had managed to stop laughing, but he was still grinning from ear to ear. Yes, of course, teacher. Wen Zhang was shocked, as the old man had never requested an audience with someone before. Even if a noble from the Alliance came to visit him, he didn't spare the time of day to see them. Now, not only did he want to meet Han Sen, he was willing to go out and pay him a visit himself. After the fight, Han Sen had indeed become rather famous. His feat made others acknowledge his true fitness level, and people now knew it had to be at least over 200. But people also knew that it was impossible for evolvers to go that high, unless he had somehow managed to absorb life Geno essences and had earned himself super Geno points. Han Sen's communicator hadn't stopped ringing since the night of the fight, so he turned it off. But when he refused to allow his communicator to keep ringing, the same could not be said for others of the Jai family. The rest of the family was pestered by people who wanted Han Sen's knowledge. The reason Jai Ruojian became president was not his own power. He had ties and alliances to many factions, families, and organizations in high places. As a result, he could not deny their requests. Jai Ruojian went to talk with Han Sen and asked him about it. Regardless of whether or not he had absorbed life geno-essences, he had to appease the Alliance with an answer. He couldn't ignore their inquisitiveness forever. Han Sen did not hesitate or lie in his response. Quickly and affirmatively, he said, I have obtained super geno points, yes. When Han Sen went to fight Yu Qilen, he deliberated the consequences of revealing so much. Jai Ruojian's question did not come as a surprise, and so Han Sen's response was prepared. Jai Ruojian fell silent upon hearing Han Sen's confirmation. After a certain amount of time elapsed, he said to Han Sen, tell me what you can. Han Sen smiled and said, there is no secret. It is easy to obtain super geno points. You simply need to find the eggs of a super creature, one that is semi-composed inside its shell. Eat it and you will receive super geno points. That is where I get mine from. Really? Jai Ruojian asked, shocked. He did not expect the answer to be so simple. On my own life, I pledge to you that this is not incorrect, Han Sen said. Good. This is an important discovery, and one that means a lot to the future progression of humanity. Jai Ruojian did not stop there, and he continued by saying, do not worry any further. The Jai family will handle all the matters pertaining to this revelation, and the benefits you will receive for this discovery will not disappoint you. Han Sen hadn't planned on receiving any rewards, particularly so since he didn't admit the entire truth. And what's more, obtaining the eggs of a super creature was a good deal harder than killing a super creature outright. Super creatures were not difficult to locate in the second god's sanctuary, but eggs most certainly were. If people wanted to spend their time searching for them, Han Sen didn't believe their efforts would get in his way too much. The chances were extremely low that someone would be lucky enough to find such an egg, and further yet manage to kill the super creature that was guarding it. And maxing out super geno points by going for eggs alone seemed impossible. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.